You can't write much of a better script than this. The Holy War at night in Provo, 2 top 25 teams with major Big 12 title implications and major college football playoff implications. This is what it's all about. Number 23 Utah, number 15 BYU. I think we're in for an instant classic on Saturday night. And we're going to give you everything you need to know about this game and share our official prediction right here on the Gridiron Expert. So welcome back, guys. So glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our expert picks over on thegridironexpert.com, home of some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Do not want to miss out on those. Again, the link for that down in the description below, along with everything else to help you get through the rest of this season. Tons of exclusive content here on the channel, here on our website, again, over on thegridironexpert.com. All right, let's get into this. I'm beyond excited for this game. We have a weekend with 5 top 25 matchups. This is by far one of the best of them. One of the most underrated rivalries, too, in college football. You know, we talk about so many other ones across the nation. I mean, the Holy War is iconic, in my opinion. It's really a fierce rivalry between the Utes and the Cougars. This is the 103rd meeting between these programs, the 103rd Holy War, and it's gonna be competitive, right? These two teams, played fairly regularly. They weren't conference members for the longest time. Now, back in the Big 12, which is fantastic. Utah, dominated this series for a while. They won 9 straight from 2010 to 2019, but BYU has actually won the last 2, including a controversial win last year, winning 22-21. And so you can't help but wonder if that's going to be on the minds of Utah fans and the minds of this Utah team, feeling they got robbed of the victory last year. It was a down year for the Utes, it was a big year for the Cougars. Let's see what's going to happen now on Saturday night in Provo, which, as we know, is one of the most difficult places to play in the country. Not just Provo itself, but Provo at night. Crazy things happen out there. Let's start on offense, though, and I want to start with Utah. They've got an offense, finally, right? Gone are the days of not knowing who's going to be at quarterback, at least for this year. They found themselves somebody. They have found consistency, which is something they've lacked for the last couple years. They're 24th in the nation in total offense, averaging over 459 yards per game. That includes nearly 250 on the ground, which ranks 8th in the entire country. The star, of course, of this team, though, is Devin Dampier, the transfer quarterback in from New Mexico, who has shined for the Utes so far this season. Over 1,100 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. He's also the team's leading rusher with nearly 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. As a matter of fact, 4 different players, including Dampier, have rushed for at least 100 yards. This is a Utah team that, of course, wants to come in here and impose their will. They want to get the ground game going. That's how they beat you, is by dominating. That's how they've always done it under Kyle Whittingham, right? Is dominate you at the line of scrimmage, pound the rock, and eventually they're going to break through for a few big pass plays. But that's the million-dollar question, right? This is the best offense that BYU's seen all year, and we'll talk on defense in a second. It's the best offense BYU's seen all year. But if the BYU rushing defense, which has been fairly strong, if they shut down this Utah rushing game, can Devin Dampier win the game by himself through the air? Standing in the pocket, not rolling out, not making plays with his legs, can he stand tall and deliver as a passer, especially in this environment? That is the storyline I'm watching out for. If you take away Utah's run game or just limit it, what can they do through the air? Dampier's shown he's a decent passer. He's made a lot better decisions now in this year at Utah than he did last year at New Mexico, where he had a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. But if it becomes a pass-happy game for the Utes, can he deliver? That's what I want to find out. For BYU, the Cougars are 6-0. We talk about this game being a massive game when it comes to the Big 12 standings. Utah already has 1 conference loss, obviously to Texas Tech. BYU is undefeated. So if Utah wins this game, chaos atop the standings. They lose, they might eliminate themselves from the Big 12 championship contention, while BYU would remain towards the top. And again, this game has playoff implications, right? It's going to have a massive impact on what happens the rest of the year within the Big 12, which will translate to the playoff. The Cougars, we mentioned 6-0, but they really don't have a great resume. They're not nearly as battle-tested as Utah, right? Their best win, probably last week against Arizona, maybe on the road against Colorado, would probably be their top 2. And they were lucky to beat Arizona last week, 33-27 in double overtime. But this team, look, good teams find ways to win games, and BYU's doing that, right? And they're doing it rather convincingly, and they're doing it with a strong running game. Both these teams able to do that. The Cougars averaging 238 rushing yards per game. That's 10th in the entire nation. So you have the 8th best rushing attack in Utah and the 10th best rushing attack in BYU, which is very impressive. Cougars led by L.J. Martin, 652 yards, 4 touchdowns already on the year. he has rushed for at least 100 yards in 4 of the 6 games that BYU has played. But maybe the unsung hero, if you remember, a couple months ago, coming into the year, we thought the quarterback was going to be Jake Retzlaff for BYU, who led them to such a great year in 2024. Then some stuff went down there. He goes to Tulane. Bear Bachmeier has been perfect at quarterback. And I don't mean perfect like he hasn't made mistakes, but I think he's probably exceeded some expectations at BYU considering how late the quarterback change happened. Bachmeier has thrown for over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. All 3 of those picks, though, have come in the last 2 games. He's also rushed for nearly 300 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he's got dual threat capability just like Devin Dampier does. He has shown the capability to win games with the Cougars. He's shown the ability to win games through the air. The biggest question mark I have for BYU, though, more than anything, is they're going up against a strong defense in Utah, obviously. And we mentioned Utah. All right, if they become a pass-happy team, can they win the game? Can BYU take care of the football here? The Cougars have turned the ball over 5 times in their last 2 games. They only turned the ball over once in their first 4 games. But the last 2 games, they've turned it over 5 times. And if you give Devin Dampier and Utah multiple chances, you give them good field position, they're going to make you pay for it. So BYU, facing the best team you've seen all year long from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint, do you take care of the ball? Do you limit your mistakes unlike you've done the last 2 games, even though they have won the last 2 games? That's the million-dollar question. That's kind of the storyline I'm watching for. Defensively, let's get into it. This is where the game's made, in my opinion, right? Both teams like to run the ball. Both teams have good mobile quarterbacks. But even though that's the case, I don't expect this to be some barn burner, high-scoring game. Both teams have very good defenses, and whichever defense steps up in the clutch, that's who's going to win this game, right? It's not going to really come down to offense. It's going to come down to defense. And you look at Utah, traditionally a very strong defense. They're only giving up 293 yards per game. That's 19th in the nation. Only 153 through the air. Only 139.8 on the ground, which actually is kind of high by Utah standards. But as we mentioned, this team is a little bit more battle-tested than BYU. They've played a couple tougher games than BYU has. Not too many, but obviously Texas Tech, the toughest, and Utah failed that test, getting blown out at home. The key for the Utes here is to shut down the run and force a young quarterback in Bear Bachmeier, who again is facing the best defense he's seen all year, force him to win the game through the air, right? That's what you've got to do. You've got to find a way to make BYU one-dimensional, and you've got to find a way to rattle a young quarterback who, again, yeah, I'm not saying he's coasted. I mean, he did lead a double overtime win on the road last week. That's impressive. Doesn't matter who you're playing. That's an impressive stat. It's an impressive feat. Can he do it now against Utah in this environment, in this type of a rivalry game against this type of team, right? The Utes defense has 16 sacks on the year. Half of those, meaning 8 of those 16 sacks have come from John Henry Daly, which is absolutely insane. Does the BYU offensive line, which has been phenomenal this year, not just in terms of their run blocking, but their pass protection as well, do they have an answer for him? Do they have a way to prevent him from creating negative plays? If not, it could be a long day for Bear Bachmeier in this BYU offense. I look at another stat here. The 2 closest games that BYU's had this year, that would be the 3-point win at Colorado and then last week against Arizona. In those 2 games, the Cougars have rushed for over 200 yards. They have thrown for less than 180 yards in both those games. If you're Utah, make it a pass-only game. Just like BYU, make it a pass-only game. 2 teams that have 2 of the best rushing offenses in the country, stop the run, force the quarterbacks to throw. And that's what Utah's got to do. Force the freshman, force the young QB, force him to throw and win this game against your defense that has a pretty good pass rush and has one of the better secondaries in the nation. BYU, their stats, pretty dang good. 13th in the nation in total defense, only 263.5 yards per game, only 159 passing yards per game. They're 23rd in the nation in stopping the run, only allowing 104 rushing yards per game. But the best offenses they faced, the best teams they faced in terms of offensive capability were probably ECU and Arizona. They allowed 404 yards to ECU. They allowed 383 yards to Arizona. And while their rushing numbers are good in their last couple of games, they haven't been. Maybe stat padded a little bit from earlier in the year. They allowed 172 rushing yards to Colorado. They allowed 156 rushing yards to West Virginia. They allowed 164 rushing yards last week to Arizona. Again, they really should have lost. They've been exposed each of the last 3 games on the ground. And now you're facing a Utah team that has the 8th-ranked rushing attack in the nation and a mobile quarterback to go along with that. So that's my biggest concern for BYU. We mentioned that you've got to find a way to stop the run and force Devin Dampier to stay in the pocket. Keep him in the pocket. If you can't do that, it's going to be very difficult to win this game. In the last couple of weeks, Even though BYU has won, and that goes a long way, and that's very impressive, the last few weeks they have been exposed on the ground. And I'm afraid of what that could mean against Utah on Saturday night. So what's going to happen, guys? I mean, listen, rivalry games, with a magnitude like this, anything can happen. I assume nothing always in rivalry games. You throw records out the window, you throw history out the window, anything can happen. And BYU, what they've got going for them is home field advantage. I love this game is in Provo, but I don't think it's going to matter at the end of the day, because I'm going to pick Utah to win this game. And I actually picked BYU to win this game back in the preseason, right? I did. I picked BYU, so maybe it's going to come back to bite me. But I think this Utah team's on a different level. Yes, they didn't look good against Texas Tech. They've looked phenomenal everywhere else, every other game, right? And Texas Tech, as we know, is the real deal. This is a revenge spot for the Utes, hungry to avenge last year's loss where they felt like they were wronged. Could maybe be Kyle Whittingham's last holy war. We don't know how much time he's got left at the coaching field. We don't know when he's going to hang it up. So that's a factor as well. But at the bottom line, I think Utah is the better team all around. I think they have the better offense. I think they have the better defense. I think they are more battle-tested. I think they're going to be more hungry. Everything to me is lining up for a Utah victory here. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's what I'm going to pick. Give me the Utes to win this game. It will be close. I think it'll be a classic, like a lot of Holy Wars are. But the Utes win this game, and they create some chaos in the Big 12 standings. They're going to have Texas Tech up there. Utah's going to be up there. BYU's going to be up there. And it's going to make for one heck of a finish in this wide-open Big 12 conference the rest of the year. And it's all going to happen because Utah wins on Saturday night. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks. Again, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Do not miss out on those. The link for it, again, down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.